Hi, my name's Pierre Sabak. I'm the author of the book The Murder of Reality, Hidden Symbolism of the Dragon. My work was quoted very recently in David Icke's latest book, Human Race, Get Off Your Knees, The Lion Sleeps No More. David wrote a chapter called Encoded Truth. Now I'm going to talk about my book. In particular, I'm just going to give you a flavour of my book and a quick summary of a few of the chapters and what my book details. So, for example, at the beginning of the book, I define what a symbol is and the nature of the symbol and the relationship between etymology, etymos, which is truth, which in English is etymology, the study of language, because language encodes human history, and if we can understand language, we can understand where, as a civilization, as human beings, where we've originated from, and it's not from this planet. Right, so with the first chapter on the murder of reality, I look at the Malak, which are the angels, and Malak is a homonym of a sailor, so which is a word which parallels Melek, which is a king, in English kingship. Then I go on to develop the idea that the government, gouverneur, to steer a ship, is another signifier of the angelic host or the angelic bloodline. I also look at the relationship of the matriarch, and that the highest forms of initiation was excluded from men, and that it was the goddess who was initiated into the highest levels of the mystery cults, the mystery religions, which was the propagation of the serpent's bloodline. The serpent is embodied as a fallen angel, and the signifier of this is the menstrual fish. In my book I also detail the Nephilim, the Anarchy or the Gibberim, which are all same definitions for this group of beings. These beings themselves are products of fallen angels, and themselves are linked to the serpent. I look at the traditions of the changeling, of the shapeshifter, particularly how the signifier of the shapeshifter falls into the double and the serpent. So kafel, which is a double, is another word for afa, which is a viper, and the traditions of the builders as well, because the builders, Hamar, where the rabbinical scholars say that we get the word for angel from, is a homonym. It also means to build, so the angels themselves are builders. And the builders is another word for the serpent, because the serpent himself is represented as a changeling. And we find the idea of shape-shifting, whether you care to accept this as something which is physical and which is real, or whether you would choose to look at this as just a symbol. But the idea itself is conveyed throughout many of the different mystery religions, and the serpent himself is said to be able to change form. And integral to this idea is the builder. The builder which himself links into the double, and the double is often represented as the word, because the construct of the word is the double itself, which is another personification of the worker. So the double or the construct connects into the word and to the worker. These are all ideas which I examine within the murder of reality. I've just been asked to talk about the Nephilim tonight, so I'm just going to give you a few of my feelings about the mythical race of the Nephilim. One of the first mentions of the Nephilim are found in Genesis chapter 6. This reference talks about the sons of the gods, which mated with or had relations with the women of the earth. Now, for us to understand who this mythical race are, and they are often described as the giants or the men of renown, we need to go back into the Hebrew, and we need to look at what the words actually mean. And this is typical with the Semitic scriptures. You're looking at word pun and word association. So, for example, nafal, which is the verb to fall, which is a reference or a punning reference to the serpent, because in the Arabic, afa is to fall and afa is a serpent. So there's a relationship between the snake, which is the fallen progeny, and we see that there's a relationship here within the Hebrew with the word nafal, which means a giant. So the Nephilim are described as the giants. The Nephilim are also referred to as the children of Anak. Now, again, so we see that there's a repetition of this wordplay as well, because in the Hebrew, Anak means giant, Anaki is the adjective meaning gigantic, and is referred to within the alternative media as Anunnaki, but the correct transliteration, or the correct way of rendering the word, is Anaki. Now, the word Anaki means gigantic, and in the chapter in Genesis we see a reference to the men of renown. Now, the translation of the men of renown are the Gibberim. So sometimes the Nephilim are referred as the Gibberim, as the Anaki, or as the Nephilim. These are all word plays which are associated with the Nephilim. But in actual fact, what is the Gibberim? This is a question which needs to be answered. And to look at what the Gibberim are, we need to deconstruct the word Gibberim. Now, Gibbar in the Arabic means giant, but it is a homonym. The word also has the additional meaning of Orion. So the Gibberim are the children or the progeny of Orion. And we see also within the Egyptian pantheon that Horus, he is represented as the hunter, which in Greek mythology corresponds with Orion. Now, when we look at the Greek translations of the giants, the Greeks translated the word as the Titans. And this is very, very important, because when we look at the etymological associations between the Titan, we see in the Greek that there is a connection with the word Tatan, which is translated as Satan. Okay, so in other words, the Nephilim, which are described as serpents, is also described, if you like, as the Shaitani. In the Hebrew, the Shaitani would be rendered as the opposer or the adversary. Okay, and so this is very, very important, because it gives us a foundation to understand who the Nephilim were. They were considered to be a mythical race, and a race which was identified with the star system Orion. Now, this is important because when we begin to look at the word plays, we also see that Adam himself is identified with Orion, because the Hebrew word Adam is punned with the word Kadam. There's a relationship between the ch and k sound within the Arabic. And Kadam is the old Semitic word for east. Now, when we take this back into the Latin, Orion's, which means the east, is etymologically consistent with Orion. So we know instantly that the children of Adam are associated with the star system Orion. And in conjunction, they are associated with the Nephilim. Okay, so the progeny of Adam and the mix with the Nephilim, the sons of the gods, are connected with this mythical race, which are said to be from heaven and from earth. Now, in my book, The Murder of Reality, Hidden Symbolism of the Dragon, I argue that there was a war between this serpent race, which is known in the Latin as the Serpentagina, or also as the Anguagina. Now, the word Anguagina is a homonym because it also means the Theban, so is a term equated with the Theban priesthood. And remember that Theban is associated with the word Taliban, which is a student, so the student of the serpent, which is Taban. Taban is a serpent, or Tabani. Okay, and this school, or priestly school, was represented by the cobra. Okay, so the word Anguagina means progeny, and literally in the Latin it means the children or the progeny of the serpent, the Anguagina. Okay, but the Anguagina is a homonym. Okay, it also means a Theban. Okay, so they're synonymous. And this is the children of the Nephilim, which we talked about. Now, going back to Adam, Adam himself is his bloodline can be connected or rendered